Greetings everyone, it's Shaman. I am trying something new today. I hope that you can hear me okay. First of all, I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you Sister Esther and Linda Sutherland and Sharon Olson and Sister Kim, Pam, and everyone for supporting me, and thank you for joining. You know, as a woman at 59 years of age, I've gone through many things. I've gone through miscarriage. Many of us have. I've gone through the cervical dysplasia. We hear about these things because they are coached and framed in a system of medicine in the medical industry. Allopathic medical industry, the Western medical system, in its specialties, which started in the 1970s as gynecology. So we go in, and whether you want to call it your yoni, your womb, your VJ, your vagina, we go in and we have ourselves checked, because that was another one of these mandates, is kind of, did you get checked? You know, is everything okay? So let's dig into today. I gave a little post ahead of time and I mentioned that I wanted to speak today about something I thought was going to be found to be very important. I wanted to talk about cysts and ovarian cysts. And when you have a lot of ovarian cysts, it's called many cystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, or PCOD, polycystic ovarian disease, depending on who diagnoses it, and endometriosis, which used to be called retrograde menses, if we're kind of picturing these beautiful mushroom-looking fallopian tubes that end and go into the ovaries, just like on top of the adrenals, right? We have the kidneys, and on top of the kidneys we have the adrenal glands. And so all of these sex glands, we call them sex organs too, need to be able to produce for you, and they need to be able to produce our procreation, what we decide to bring new life onto earth with us. So I wanted to speak about cyst, endometriosis, the retrograde, where the blood starts kind of covering the tubes and going up onto the ovaries and maybe chocolate encysting them, okay? And also fibroids. Uterine fibroids are a really, really big deal. And so many women have not only come to me, but they write on Facebook. There's all kinds of groups about fibroids and what we need to do about them, and can we get rid of them, and why do I have them, and what kind of food should I be eating, and what should I do about fibroids? You know, can I possibly get rid of them? Yes, you can. It will depend upon how long they have been stationed. I'm going to use that word carefully, stationed, in your uterus, which has to do about how well tuned you were. Think about a tuner on a radio. How well tuned were you? So when you have a car, it's a vehicle, right? Just like the body's a vehicle. You take it in and you get a tune-up. And so the human body is pretty much the same way. If it's out of tune, if it's out of balance, you know, how does it get out of balance? We'll talk about that in just a moment. But the three main headliners for today were cyst, including polycystic ovarian, PCOS, endometriosis, which is extremely common and leads to infertility because it's another level up in disease, and fibroids, which are so common. There's many different types of fibroids that either build themselves inside the uterine wall or outside the uterine wall, and just different kinds of submucosal and different kinds of uterine. Now, the other thing that I put on my post was what's really related to these gynecological issues, which have to do with your glands, your hormones, your thoughts, your diet, how much mucus you're consuming, how congested you are, how much exercise do you get? Are you out walking every day? I mean, it's a balmy 60 degrees here in Northeast Minnesota. But there's a couple of subcategories that I listed, and I wrote down a note here. One of them is hirsutism. Now, I noticed when I was a teenage girl that I started getting, like, we called it the peach fuzz on the side here. It wasn't so much that I really felt like I had to take a razor, but in today's world, many of our girls, and especially our teenage girls, are so antagonistic with each other, so bullying, so abrasive, and they're learning it from a system that has been so abrasive and so dominating, so rigid, and so harsh sometimes, that we end up traumatized. And then we wonder why trauma is such a big part of addiction. But so they're shaving their eyebrows, and they're shaving in between, they're shaving underneath here, and they're shaving under their lip, they're shaving under their chin, they're shaving their arms because they're too hairy. But as you've heard me say many times, why do we need to use what I believe are like Harry Potter-like words? Hirsutism means that the majority of the people aren't really going to understand what that really means, which just means excess hair on the body due to hormonal dysregulation or hormonal imbalance. So are your hormones such a big mystery that we couldn't have been teaching our own people about the benefit of hormones, about what they do, about how they're powerful messengers in the body, and how we take care of them? Of course we could have. So now if we come down and we look at the post I wrote earlier about the 3 categories, the cysts, the endometriosis, the fibroids, and let's go down to the second category, the hirsutism, and let's see what else I wrote here. Infertility, right, because of those issues, and we need to take care of the womb. Miscarriages, which I told you I had one before I conceived my child Zawa, so 26 years ago I had a miscarriage. And it just devastated me because I was told back then at the early 30s that you absolutely have infertility and it's just not going to be possible that you conceive a child. And in a forthcoming book that I have, which I will be writing now, I'm going to explain exactly why that's not true most of the time. Okay? And now the other thing was looking at going further. We have the baby, but now we have babies that are experiencing SIDS, which is another one like hirsutism. Why don't we just say a sudden death? Sudden infant death syndrome. Stillborn babies. So what I want my live stream to really deliver for you that's meaningful, I'll put my note down here, is that all of these things need to be addressed, not treated, not checked and treated, but they need to be addressed on an individual basis. Each individual has a different inherited profile. So when you receive your own patient report following a hair tissue mineral analysis that you're not going to hear about from your doctor, 9.9 times out of 10, they have no idea what it is, they don't work with that, they haven't been trained in that, and they're going to check your blood, and you're going to go down one of 2 or 3 different paths. You're going to be given metformin after blood, pelvic exam, gynecologically and obstetric, gynecologists and obstetricians work side by side, and they're often the same doctor, but they may also do obstetrics, meaning they deliver babies. Before all that, we had women that took care of other women, because when you have elder women, the younger women are not going to make as many mistakes. Okay? So, I'll step down here for a minute. I love being out in nature. And one of the ways to heal yourself is to be out in nature and to get this beautiful sunlight on your body. You got to take it in. Now, we're talking about vitamin D all the time. We need vitamin D for COVID. We need vitamin D for our womb. We need vitamin D for all these things, but it's not a vitamin. It's a corticosteroid hormone. And the only way you're going to get it flowing is to eat fungi, fruit bodies of mycelium, which you call mushrooms. You can incorporate them in your chai, your tea, you can get them in powdered form. You can put them on your salad as mushrooms. You can lightly pan fry them in place of what you would eat meat and get those portobellos going. But they're your connectors. The reason that we have these is our bodies are too slow. We have too much hypothyroidism. We have too much thyroid deficiency. And where a blood test is going to check your thyroid levels, like TSH, free T3, free T4, T3 and T4, and all the different, the TPOs and the TPAs, all of those, I'm not saying they're not important, but they're less important to me than checking the calcium to potassium range on your hair tissue test, because it's going to show me the severity, the degree of your thyroid deficiency and how slowed down you become. So together with your habits, which are going to be individual, and what you've inherited from many generations, that's your inherited tissue mineral pattern, I'm going to be able to see what's going on with an individual. The difference between allopathic medicine and a medicine woman is that allopathic medicine simply treats PCOS one or two ways, depending on the individual. And a medicine woman says, let me look at the sum total picture, mathematics, right? Let me look at the sum total picture of what's going on with this one client of mine. And so through the listening, through the redirecting of habits, through that patient report, through listening with my client about what did her blood test say, what did the doctor say, what did they find on an ultrasound, did she have a thyroid ultrasound? You know, all of these things together really only take 2, 3, 5, maybe 6 sessions to gather and have the protocol together and adjust it where needed and to get you to your goals. That's why I cannot in good faith sell you one supplement bottle. We got buggies out here. One supplement bottle, one thyroid cure-all, one gynecological cure-all. Oh, you've got PCOS? Well, here's exactly what you need to do. Maybe, maybe not, but it would be unethical just to treat you based on a diagnosis code when in fact you need individual attention. So that's what I had to say today. So my book will be coming out about the womb. First, I'd like to get the opiate book done, thyroid completely revised and back on the shelf again, so people can see that as a matter of fact, we're in a thyroid pandemic and not a virus pandemic. I'd like you to continue to support me and go over to my YouTube channel at Naturally with Karen on YouTube. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, because once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can reach a much larger audience and be able to say, hey, let's all try our best to redirect our habits and get as strong as possible, because this is typically what's been done is resource guarding. If you're not familiar with it, just listen up for just a moment before I go. If you've got money, you want to hold on to your money, right? If you've got stuff, you want to hold on to your stuff. If you've got secrets, you want to hold on to your secrets, because in a resource guarded world, you're going to be left out in the cold. You're going to be alone if you don't have something to sell, to trade, to keep you afloat, to keep you alive. And that's very different than a partnership connected world, than a resource guarded world. And this is why we see so many hoarders, so much addiction, so much pain, and so much sickness, illness, and infection, is because we're living in a resource guarded world instead of a partnership world that says, wait a minute, all are my brothers and sisters, okay? So you have to ask yourself, why and whom made it so important to be so divisive? It's basic mathematics. Now, forgive me, if you will, because I'm not 100% as I was. If you go back to my videos in 2017, my son was addicted 2016, 17, 18, and 19 and died. And I'm pulling my strength back up to the best of my ability, working a very strict protocol for myself. Now that I've come through some goals that I really had to do and I had no other choice. So I'm going to take the phone back here. I hope you're doing well. And I want to thank you, thank you for supporting me.